Alright, spawning at the top left corner of the map. We got our red Zerg player playing for Team NV. Guys, give a hand to DRG.
And his opponent spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map as the blue Protoss for Alpha X, playing with the home court advantage. It is classic.
Alright, so we start off our first game here on Curious Minds. Now, this is a pretty, I think, okayish map for DRG, just off the bat, because one of the, I guess, prevalent things that Protoss usually go for is air toss, or sky toss, however you like to claim it. And on this map, if you look at the dirt base, especially the one that is kind of at the triangular side, if the Protoss goes for air toss and goes for that dirt, it means that the Zerg player can actually reach that dirt rather quickly. So you kind of commonly see Zerg go for those queen walks, those deadly queen walks, and be very effective, because again, the distance between the dirt base and the Zerg space is pretty close.
Yeah, definitely. Queen walks have, shot up in popularity recently, or not recently, but they've been around. And also, just to note that triangle third, it's very vulnerable, I would say. It's quite open, you don't see a lot of choke points. You see a ramp, but the thing is, the ramp is going up towards the high ground, away from the third. So that doesn't exactly play to the defender's advantage. So I'd say that this map is, fairly Zerg favored. But we're going to have to wait and see if DRG does pull out something a little bit more aggressive, such as a queen walk, or if he's going to just try to macro up and head to the late game.
Yeah, well, looks like he's pulling the drones off of gas, so it looks like he is just going to go ahead and research speed for the time being, and then I'm sure he will try to react to what Classic is going for. And what is Classic going for, TeaDragon here?
This is such a rare build from Protoss. I'm surprised that we're seeing it here. Like, we never see this kind of tech, right? That is, in fact, a Stargate. You pronounce it Stargate, okay? So, it's kind of blowing my mind right now. I would assume that a Void Ray is going to come out. But, just, an amateur guess.
So when you
Although, interesting to note that DRG is also going for the triangle third. Possibly trying to, push that creep out a little bit. But yeah, I feel like recently Zergs have been going for the triangle base, not so much the straight away third. Do you have any thoughts on that, Snoopy, or am I just not up to date?
No. I think you kind of had it. You had it on his head, where you said that it is to help spread the creep a bit quicker, because of course the dirt base straight line to the Protoss side. While if he took the, let's say, 9 o'clock base, just a little bit of a more kind of you gotta kind of circumvent the creep around. So yeah, I do think that we do see a lot of Zerg players take that triangular dirt base, and of course we do see Classic with his Oracle arriving at the dirt base. Actually, no, wait, never mind. Gonna maybe go to the main, but in the meantime, we do see a little bit of a kind of a little bit of a semi-surround on that depth, but that depth will make its way into safety.
I like what DRG did here. He made a total of, I believe, 5 queens, and so he kept 2 at the main and 3 at the natural. Instead of, keeping them out on the creep like you would against the Terran, for example, he kept them at the bases, anticipating that Oracle would come. Oracle, again, is going to try to poke into the third, and it's not going to get anything done, even though the Spore Crawler is not done, simply because there are just so many queens there, and you can't really get any damage done with that kind of, presence.
Yeah, so of course, you can park 2 queens at one of the unspored bases in order to protect. Maybe if the Protoss is kind of rather aggressive, he will take down maybe 1, at most 2 drones, but with 2 queens, you should be relatively safe, and is able to catch the Oracle if he overcommits. But look at what we have here. We have a fleet beacon coming down for or actually already finished for Classic, and he's going straight into Tempest.
Yeah, this reminds me of, you know, like really old proxy 2-gate Tempest builds. The thing is, this is not proxy. He's just going straight for 2 Tempests at a time and getting Flux Veins as well. So we're going to see some very unique Sky Toss, some very spicy Sky Toss. This is interesting.
Yeah, and you know what? Being that this map is on Curious Minds, I am quite curious why he is researching Void Ray, the Void Ray upgrade instead of Tempest upgrade. And it looks like maybe, possibly, he's just gonna commit to only maybe 2 Tempests or 3 Tempests, and then just go straight into max Void Rays.
Oh wow, that is interesting. Obviously, at the pro level, you expect Tempest to get a lot more damage done than you would at the amateur level, being that they have such great range, and you know, in the hands of a pro who can actually micro them properly, they could get some decent damage in. Now we're gonna have to wait and see. There is gonna be a Twilight follow-up, and a Spire is going down in response from DRG. But DRG sees the Tempest. Oh, they're caught a little bit far onto creep. They're gonna head straight for the main though.
Yeah, unfortunately there are spores in the main, so not gonna be able to really quite do anything, any damage. Maybe pick off a queen here and there, maybe a creep tumor, but not gonna find the damage that he is looking for. But obviously he's really not too concerned about these Tempests. These Tempests are kind of serving as kind of a distractor. The real tests are in these Void Rays, in which he is building up more and more. Currently he has 4 out there. A 5th and 6th are on their way out. The Void Ray upgrades has finished, so these Void Rays are going to be traveling and flying pretty quickly. But you gotta still be careful. They are still paperweight.
Oh, yeah. Classic, you gotta be careful with those Void Rays. I mean, that is a lot of queens. Now, some of them do get caught by the Oracle Stasis Trap. At the same time, the Tempests are gonna, you know, keep poking the third base. The Void Rays are coming back in. Oh, and are they gonna catch these queens out? Looks like some transfuses are gonna go down. The first queen does fall, so it looks like these Void Rays are gonna leverage the fight just a little bit here for now. Oh. I like this style a lot. I gotta say, Snoopy, we have never, or I at least have never seen a Tempest opener into Mass Void Ray, into, what is that, Charge Lot Archon maybe? Like, this is amazing. My mind is being blown right now.
Yeah, and what's also being blown is the front door as Lings actually pass on by. There's nothing to block it. A massive mistake there, and we should see a bunch of probes going down. Void Rays are going to go back to try to mitigate some of the damage. Only 6 probes, could have been worse, I would say.
Yeah, actually, all in all, I'd say, given that the natural wall was wide open, that was okay, right? That was acceptable, I guess. And wow, look at that SimCity. I just took a look at Classic's main, and he's got a pretty good SimCity going on. You know, making sure that he can plug any hole with just one Zealot.
Oh yeah, he's like channeling his inner Terran player inside of him.
Alright, looks like he's going to move out with all of his Void Rays, Archons, Zealots, all of it. The Queens are going to get a very nice concave along with the Roaches. The Corruptors are being tagged, and it looks like they can't get a clean engage, but Classic is going to back up for now.
Yeah, a little bit scary. DRG couldn't really engage with the Corruptors because those Archons were actually below them and underneath them. And of course the Void Rays, of course. So kind of made sure to kind of, you know, move back the Corruptors a bit, get the Roaches on top of the ground units and the Queens on top of the Void Rays. And now it looks like DRG is ready to go for the counter.
Yeah, this is a very interesting counter. Oh, but the Zealots are going to come in from the side. Looks like they're going to back up for now. But yeah, as we were talking about Queen Walks at the beginning of the game, looks like DRG is going to craft this game into, you know, a type of Queen Walk at least. The Ravagers are going to take care of that 4th base, no problem. And Classic is, you know, he's kind of scared, you know. He's kind of on the back foot, not certain exactly how to win this fight because the Queen's on the high ground. They've got the creep advantage, and there's always that cloud of Corruptors. Archons are going to be crucial in this fight to make sure that they can fight off the air.
Looks like DRG are ready to commit here. A lot of Roaches here. 100 or so army supply. But Classic actually does have defensive advantage will charge up those Wardrays. Those Wardrays doing so much damage. These Archons as well, tanking so much. And Classic pushes this back.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna be honest, I did not expect that to happen because I was just looking at that sea of Ravagers and I was thinking to myself, there is no way that Classic can dodge any of those Biles. Now he dodged enough, and this is the result. He gets to walk back across the map because, you know, the Roaches and Ravagers are, in the end, pretty flimsy units. These Void Rays are going to be able to keep engaging on their own for now, but reinforcing Zealots are coming in, and I think the writing is on the wall here.
Yep, the base, the 9 o'clock base does go down. All the Corruptors has been eliminated. All that is left are in these Ravagers, but they don't really have a lot of buffer underneath them with the Roaches. And Classic are looking to go ahead and march on to victory, take a 1-0 lead in this series.
Yeah, what a unique game. I mean, you know, DRG, like, I love him, you know I love him, but man, Classic pulling out the Tempest opener, woo!
So
I'm just, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just wondering, you know, as the Zerg, how do you sort of play against that, right? I felt like the Queens, maybe if they were transfusing the Ravagers, might have had a better shot. But the thing is, the Queens were having a hard enough time, you know, sustaining themselves against the Void Rays.
Yeah. I think the Zerg gotta attack a bit quicker than that, because by the time by the time our DRG arrived at Classic's base, he did have a significant amount of units, and the thing about Protoss opening up with that kind of opening into Tempest is that they're not going to be as strong in terms of the ground forces. You can't let the Protoss get away with such a kind of a greedy build or a tech-heavy build, and you got to attack. I believe you got to attack quicker than that and hit a timing of some sort. He did, of course, see the air path, the air tech, relatively early, but he did not quite see the I don't believe he saw the Tempest transition until like later on, so maybe a little bit of a better scouting and then kind of see what Classic is up to and then, you know, go for that timing attack with the Queen Walk.
Yeah, that is a good point that you mentioned, because if I recall correctly, by the time DRG was on Classic side of the map, the supplies were actually even, and obviously Roach Ravager is heavily inflated in terms of supply because they're just such cheap units. So maybe that, in addition to less Corruptors, I'm thinking, because obviously 2 Tempests, you know, the Zerg is probably thinking, oh crap, I gotta make anti-air. But the thing is, against Void Rays, against large numbers of Void Rays, Queens are just fine.
Yeah, I mean, and the Void Rays do counter the Corruptors, so even though he went Corruptors, they didn't really help as much. I think he went Corruptors because he thought that Classic was going to be committed into Mass Tempest instead. He did not. I don't think he was expecting the complete switch to Mass Void Rays, and I think that is due to the lack of scouting. So yeah, I think DRG kind of got bamboozled in that first game, and Classic was able to kind of catch DRG a little bit with his pants down.
Oh yeah, definitely. Alright, well it looks like nothing too out of the ordinary is going to go down here for either side. Classic is obviously going to open up with an Oracle first, just to get some scouting off, maybe some harass as well. Really just same build as last game, and also the same kind of follow-up from DRG as well.
Yeah, now the question is, will Classic go for that same build? I mean, it worked out nicely for him in that first game, but can he repeat it twice, or will he kind of change it up and kind of switch it around and maybe do a kind of a different type of build, but you know, same opening but branches off to a different way, to a different branch compared to the last game?
Right, now that Void Ray has already popped, and now it's really up to Classic to, you know, choose whatever tech direction he wants to go in. Last time it was obviously the Fleet Beacon enabling the first 2 Tempests. This time we are going to see that +1 air and a second Stargate. So if I were to take a guess, I'd say he's going to go into more Void Rays, possibly.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there is a reason why you get +1 air weapons, because you're pretty committed into air tech. And yeah, it looks like he is making more Void Rays, getting that, of course, that crucial forge, because if there is any potential Queen Walks, you really need a bunch of cannons and shield batteries to help in the defense.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now this Oracle is being quite a nuisance, catching 3 drones as they're being rallied in between bases, but it is actually going to escape just barely with some help, as those queens are going to show it back for the time being. But yeah, we're seeing that safety, or actually that's kind of late to be a safety, Roach Warren. It could be that DRG wants to go for the same composition as last game. At the same time, Classic is, you know, just pumping out 2 Void Rays at a time, very comfortably.
Well, it looks like he's starting to add a robo facility, so it looks like he may want to go ahead and transition to a ground force. Maybe disruptors, because disruptors actually work out pretty nicely against those Queen Walks. If you can kind of get like maybe 2 of them out, you can kind of kill a kind of bunch up group of queens, because queens you can't really spread as much or as quickly as, let's say, MMM, like Marine Marauders. So yeah, those are pretty effective against queens. So maybe he can get those disruptors in time.
Alright, it looks like these first 4 Void Rays are going to come into the main, try to see what they can do. They're going to be shooed back by the queens and Spore Crawlers. It turns out that, oh, my bad, that was actually the Oracle hiding in the corner, not another Void Ray. But yeah, I think you're right, you know, we do see that Robo Bay going down as well as Charge. But, Snoopy, is that common to see Zealots or Charge Lots paired with Disruptors? I feel like that's not a good combo, right?
Yeah, I think maybe he's getting the Disruptors, the Disruptor tech, just in case he sees a Queen Walk. But if he doesn't see a Queen Walk, he can just go straight into the Charge and Archons. However, it is a lot of tech. I mean, he's branching off into a lot of different tech trees.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that takes a lot of gas investment.
Speaking of large gas investments, we actually see 9 Mutalisks coming out from DRG. That is a lot of gas. That is a heavy investment. And we're going to have to wait and see just how much damage DRG is able to do. I don't expect there to be much, because obviously we do see 2 Stargates. Absolute worst case, if Classic needs to, he can transition into double Phoenix production. But I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. Now, these Mutas are going to actually get into the natural free and clear, it seems, right? We don't see any cannons, any shield batteries, no anti-air.
Yeah, it looks like Classic is going to be caught off guard with this, and of course, without any detection. I mean, he didn't have a sentry to hallucinate a Phoenix. He didn't have observers. He didn't really have anything, and he didn't even go in or commit in with his Void Rays to see the Spire. So you will lose a couple of probes to these Mutalisks, unfortunately.
Wow, look at that. These Mutas are actually going in deep, forcing the battery overcharge actually to pop. Now, it's funny because in any standard Protoss wall, Archons are too big to actually go back in. So these Phoenixes and the Void Rays are going to have to come back into the main. Now, 20 probes, that is a significant loss. So I would say that for the time being, it looks like DRG has put himself into the lead for game number 2.
Yeah, especially since he didn't overcommit into those Mutalisks. Only a couple of Mutalisks, and was able to do, let's see here, 20 probe kills. I think one was from earlier, maybe, or maybe he did get 21 kills. I'm not sure, but either way, he did get 20 or plus so probes for those Mutalisks, and definitely well worth it. Definitely paid for themselves. And now Classic, he's going to be on the back end here in terms of the economy, and DRG looking to put on some pressure.
Yeah, definitely. This is looking to be a very high-tech game from both of our players. Obviously, we saw Classic going for the Robo Bay, as well as the, in addition to the heavy air opening, as well as the Archons. And then out of DRG, we actually see a Lurker Den just about to finish up. So this is going to be a very interesting ground fight coming up here in just a little bit. Yeah.
And by the way, someone in the chat, Pascal, saying, but roaches into disruptors? I don't know. And you know what? You are right. I think the Disruptors can blow up a lot of roaches, and I think that's why he wants to spread those the creep really quickly, so that if he can't fight on creep, then maybe he has a better chance of spreading a bit better. But anyhow, we do see Classic looking to put on some pressure here.
Oh, okay. Good zoning disruptor hit, but it didn't catch anything except for one roach. Yeah, that is exactly correct, right? The roaches have been essentially rendered obsolete at this point. Ooh, nice Nova actually catching those 2 creep tumors. I don't know how these players are so quick. You know, they can see these creep tumors being placed and whatnot. Now, I do like the carriers coming out from Classic, but what I love are the Vipers. I think the Vipers are going to make a huge difference. Now, we see DRG trying to trade out some of these Ravagers and Roaches. A bunch of them do actually get caught by the Stasis Ward, and funnily enough, they actually do get the Oracle with their Biles.
Yeah, that's always pretty sweet there. However, these Roaches, poor Roaches. Can you time up the Disruptors? Yeah. Okay, he tried there, and he does get a decent amount, so nicely done there by Classic.
Very, very nice, yeah. This is going to be very interesting. Now, earlier I did say that DRG wasn't in a great spot, and that, I would say, would be completely different if he were in the same spot, same army, just no Spire, right? That would be a very different position, I believe. Now, here, we're going to see DRG again try to poke forward a little bit with the Roach Hydra Lurker. I think DRG knows that he needs to trade out the Roaches. These Ravagers are also going to be traded out, trying to see whatever damage they can do, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to do anything significant here. Yeah, I think that you give Classic enough time and space to max out on carriers, and all of a sudden, these Hydras and Roaches are not going to be able to do much.
Yeah, these army compositions, very, very complex, but hold that thought, there is a charge dot run by here at the 3 o'clock base. Does actually, I think he's going to get it.
Yeah, interesting decision to pull the Queens back. I think maybe he was spooked by that one Phoenix, but the thing is that I believe that's enough Queens to buy time for the Spines to come out. Now it looks like the Roach Hydra is going to engage along with the Lurkers. The Vipers are out on the front lines, but oh my gosh, that was a huge Nova. Things are not looking too good, I would say. Now, these Lurkers are getting enough damage. And the Probes, ooh, the SimCity actually working against Classic. We do see some yoinks on the Void Rays as well.
Yeah, I mean, Classic trying to utilize these carriers. Doesn't he have the optimal amount of carriers to overwhelm? And it looks like maybe he's on the brink of it, but there are still a lot of Hydralisks moving across the map here. And I think maybe Classic with enough interceptors, it's going to be close. But I think Classic might actually hold here. Or maybe not.
Oh, this is definitely close, right? We see the point where the Hydras are trying to target down the carriers. Lurkers, of course, have been, you know, just doing their thing. I was about to say shelling away as though they were tanks, but they really are like Zerg tanks. These Queens, though, I imagine that if the Queens were also on the front lines, that fight would have gone very differently.
Oh yeah, that's 14 Queens that could have been utilized in the fight. And yeah, that I think could have actually changed the tide and kind of made it into a situation where Classic did lose the base, but instead Classic retains the base and still mines off of it.
Yeah, props to him for keeping it alive, right? We did see a lot of photon cannons and shield batteries going down, but we also saw some very, very solid Nova hits as well. Now, these Lurkers are going to come back in. Same angle as before. Are these High Templar going to be able to Storm? No, Storm is actually not even halfway done. Oh, but the big Disruptor hits are going to take out a big chunk of Queens. I like this move by the Zerg to pull the Queens first, have them tank damage. Transfuses are not really going down too well. Yeah, I'm not sure about this fight for DRG, honestly.
Yeah.
Although he does get the fourth, and he is moving on.
Yeah, for a period of time, there was no detection for those Lurkers because the Observer got killed, and I think that allowed DRG to at least take down this base before backing on out, which is a smart move. I mean, he doesn't really need to overcommit. I mean, as long as he takes down the base here, he does put a dent into Classic's economy. And just gotta make sure to kind of not overcommit, not get overconfident, and just kind of throw away his army. And here we go. Disruptor gets yanked there.
Ooh. Well, what do you think, Snoopy? One disruptor for one lurker? I'm not too sure about that, but you know, I'm not the Protoss main here.
Well, the damage output of each disruptors are pretty high, so I think taking down the disruptors for one lurker, I think DRG should be happy with it. However,
yeah. Oh wow.
Oh,
okay, just a lot of damage going down everywhere. We see a bunch of storms. Interceptors are popping. Vipers have done their work and they're going back for more energy. And some Novas got some good hits in as well. But yeah, this is looking really dicey. We see the interceptor count getting really low, and these Hydras and Lurkers are just going to keep on pushing through.
yeah, this time around, Queens does join into the fight. And, you know, there is a lot of carriers, a decent amount of carriers, but not overwhelming enough to overwhelm DRG. And also, he doesn't have any more buffer underneath. There's no High Templars to storm and kind of thwart the Hydralisk from getting underneath those carriers. And now DRG taking a huge win there.
Yeah, this was honestly quite unexpected from me, because I thought that after DRG had respent his entire bank after the very first fight, his entire bank went down and he just went back into Hydras. I was honestly not so sure. I was looking at that big clump of carriers and thinking to myself, this is not going to work. But here we go. The carriers are going to come back in, kill off one lurker. A bunch more lurkers are going to be morphed. But yeah, you know, I was thinking to myself, that is too many carriers and you didn't kill enough on the first wave. But yeah, with good Viper control and, you know, good Queen transfuses as well, DRG was able to make it work without needing to transition into Corruptors.
Yeah, and critically, he did take down the base, which means no gas mining, or not a lot of gas mining, and that's exactly what you need to power up this Sky Toss kind of army composition. With that dent into the gas mining, that does spell pretty much the end here for Classic, unless he can somehow hold and get that fourth base mined off. But if this fourth base dies, it is pretty much GG, and I think it might even be GG before then.
Yeah, GG is called. DRG wins game number 2.
So of course, Classic kind of coming back into the swing of things this past summer, and I'm really hoping that he kind of starts getting back into the swing of things, like really getting some nice results. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, after like players like Stats left, Parting also going into the military soon, Zest also probably going to the military soon, we're gonna have a lot of Protoss leaving this game, and not a lot of Protoss left in the Korean scene, except that there is a return of Classic. There has been a return of Hero, and so I'm hoping that both Hero, Classic, and maybe even Zoun as well kind of start really getting some nice wins here and there, nice tournament wins here and there, to kind of at least hold up for the Korean Protosses.
Oh yeah, definitely. I am all for Zoun. Once I saw his debut in GSL, I was immediately turned into a super fan. But yeah, always rooting for Classic as well. We need representation, seriously.
Alrighty, so 2 straight games Classic has gone for Stargate. You think he's going for the same thing here?
Oh man, yeah, you know, it's like a 70-30, I would say. 70 in favor of a Stargate. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Classic apparently heard me and wanted to subvert my expectations. Going for a Robo first. I like that. I like that.
Oh man, whenever I hear the word subvert, I think of I don't know if you know this, but there was supposed to be like a Barney movie.
No way.
And I think the director was like, yeah, we're gonna create a Barney movie and it's gonna like subvert people's expectations. And I'm like, how are you gonna do that with the Barney movie?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, are you gonna make a Barney movie like R-rated or something? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Turn him into John Wick. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, but a robo first now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this has become more common recently.
Uh, you know what? I haven't seen a lot of protests do this. This kind of reminds me of this like old school Immortal Mass Sentry push.
Right,
Basically, it was a parting train in Heart of the Swarm, and it
right.
looks
The
like
Soul Train.
it might be the same thing of some sort. Although I don't see a lot of sentries yet, so maybe not. But there are two Immortals, and he might just maybe go for like maybe like two Immortal War Prism drop or something.
Ooh, Warp Prism juggling. That would be very interesting to see. A different kind of harass. Now, speaking of harass, this one Zergling was trying its hardest to get that one kill. I feel like that was a spiritual incarnation of Serral, right? The one Zergling being able to get into the main. Now we do see a group of Zerglings coming down to the south, scouting that there is no third just yet. So yeah, we do see that War Prism coming out, and you're right. It is going to be a double Immortal War Prism harass.
Yeah, but actually he's adding in a bunch of gateways, so it is going to be a 6-gate along with it, which is quite old school-ish. You don't really see Protoss player kind of pull this build out anymore. But again, like you mentioned, DRG getting some nice scout, does see no dirt base, which means that there should be some kind of pressure coming his way, or at least he should anticipate some pressure coming this way, and he does get confirmation with this Zergling at the watchtower.
That's right. That watchtower honestly is so powerful. You get so much vision of the middle of the map. And indeed, DRG was able to see, hey, there's a warp prism here. There are sentries being warped in, and it's a little too late, my friend. Roach Warren just got started. Morlings are on the production tab. I'm not too sure if DRG is going to be able to hold this. Now, the first Spore Crawler does go down already. We do see another warp in of Zealots. First round of force fields do go down, and they are good enough to zone away the Zerg for now.
Alright, he's gonna run out of force fields though. Again, he did not make a lot of early sentries, so couldn't build up those energy. These Lings are gonna be able to get surrounded on top of this Spine Crawler as well. So this Spine Crawler doing some nice damage, but the Warp Prism comes in with some reinforcements. Can Classic break DRG?
Just a little bit of juggling, making sure that the two Immortals stay alive, and actually the drones are going to need to be evacuated. Another round of Zealots and Stalkers are going to come in, and like I said, these Roaches were a little bit too late, right? They're going to have to be rallied completely away from the third. It looks like this third base is not going to survive. Yeah, I'd say against the Soul Train like this, you definitely need Ravagers, I think, right? Because you need to be able to break those force fields and keep up the damage, keep up the pressure, but that is clearly not the case in game number 3.
Yeah, you know what? When the Zergling scouted no dirt base, it took a really long time for him to throw down the Roach Warren. Like, I was expecting him to throw it down immediately, but he took a long time, and he is going to pay the price for it with some late Roaches. And looks like Classic going for the jugular, going for the neck, the throat.
Yeah, definitely. I do like that move by DRG to put down a couple of Evo chambers, you know, just to make an artificial wall. Now, this juggling is going to be good. It actually did prevent a hit on the Immortal, and Classic is going to take game number 3.
Alright, so this is the game 4 on Berlingrad. Let's see if DRG can tie up the series. But speaking of DRG, he's the guy here in the bottom right. Give him some love, DRG.
And his opponent spawning here in the top left corner of the map. Give it up for Alpha X's Classic.
Alright, so you know, the meta these days in PvZ is to send out that probe really early, so that you can kind of block that natural hatchery from going down and force them to make their natural at the conventional third base area. But Classic is actually one of the few Protosses that I have noticed that doesn't actually do that, which is pretty interesting. I mean, I've seen like Trap do that, Zest do that, a bunch of Protoss do that, but for some reason Classic not going for that kind of strategy.
You know, immediately, right when you mentioned that, my respect for him doubled. Because as a Zergling, it's very painful to have to move your natural over to your third. But all jokes aside, yeah, it's very nice to see. Or, you know how, like, on the pro scene, you always get different flavors of playstyles, right? You've got Parting with his, you know, whatever he does, and then you've got Trap with his very standard style. You've got Stats with a very defensive style. It's just so nice to see that, you know, no matter what your style is, it's viable in some way or other at the highest level. That's always been a very comforting thought.
Yeah, I mean, of course there are trends here and there, and I think up to players' preferences, they can kind of follow the trend or they can kind of not follow the trend. And it seems like Classic is going to follow to his whole, to his own beat here. Going to actually block the dirt here with the pylon. Delay it just a bit.
Interesting. Yeah. Speaking of quirks, DRG has a habit of sending out one Ling out of the first 4 over to the other side of the map, and then that is the Ling that is able to get that first scout off. I really like that, you know. At first I was wondering, hey, am I just hallucinating, or, you know, whatever the reverse of hallucinating is, and I'm seeing only 3 Lings when there should be 4, but no. It's been a habit for DRG to send that 4th Ling all the way across the map.
Yeah, always nice to get some nice additional scouting information, and I think it would have done him some good because he could have scouted the Stargate that is coming out for Classic, and there's no Spore Crawlers yet.
Yeah. Well, in previous games, the Spore Crawlers did go down after the Oracle had already popped. And of course, DRG was able to shoo it away with just Queens. But a Spore is always nice to have. Now, that Ling is going to be able to scout it. That Overlord is going to be able to scout and confirm that there is an Oracle. These Queens are going to do their best to try to shoo it away. That Oracle is actually going to go in pretty deep, getting 2 drone kills and leaving just before it goes down to the Queens. Very nice.
Yeah, that was a little bit close there for that Oracle. I was getting a little worried here for him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, nicely defended by DRG, only losing 2 drones. So not the biggest of deals. And right now, both players are just gonna go ahead and macro into the mid game here. You know, Classic didn't get the damage he wanted, but at the very least, that Oracle is still alive.
Now this is very interesting. We see the Twilight Council finishing, and immediately Classic is going to go into Glaive Adepts. Now I think that this actually has a lot of potential. DRG has been going for a later Roachborn, and of course that means that, you know, his speed upgrade for the Roaches is not going to be finished quite on time. But I'm not too certain. You know, Glaive Adepts, the later the game you go into, the worse that Glaive Adepts are, and the less common they are. But, you know, who knows? Maybe this is going to catch DRG off guard once again, just like the last game.
Yeah, you know, I feel like Adepts, the Adept timings like these are very hit and miss. Sometimes, you know, it works out beautifully. Sometimes it just goes really, really horribly. And this time around, DRG is going to have Roaches to defend. However, the bases are really spread out, and it's going to be kind of difficult for him to kind of juggle back and forth, but hopefully maybe these Queens can help out as well. And,
I like this move a lot. Walling off the natural, actually. Keeping these Adepts on the front lines, making sure that, hey, you cannot get into my 2 out of 3 of my bases. Now, we are going to see the Adepts try to shade in once again. They are not going to get through. DRG is on time with that Evo Chamber, forcing the Adepts to actually complete the shade, and they're going to get taken out by all these Roaches and Lings. Very, very well played by DRG, ensuring that his defense is very solid.
Yeah, that's beautifully done, and this is twice in a row where Classic wanted to put on some economic pressure, harassment, and DRG has answered and held really well. So right now, DRG, I mean, he did commit a lot of larva and resources into these armies, into these Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers. So he is going to be a little, he's going to be a little behind in terms of the drone count, the worker count, but he is going to be massively ahead in the army supply.
Yeah, looks like DRG is just gonna commit to a sort of improvised counter. Maybe not improvised, but this is definitely a countering Queen Walk. I'm not so sure that Classic is ready for this. Immediately putting down a bunch of spores, and those sentries are gonna put down the first 2 force fields, but these Ravagers are gonna get in a lot of value, taking down the shield battery that was overcharged immediately. Queens on the front lines, transfusing, taking care of each other. I'm not so sure that Classic can hold.
Yeah, this is a lot of red Zerg bugs on top of Classic's base. The shield batteries are gonna be all targeted down, and maybe this disruptor.
Oh
no!
Oh, good pullback by DRG. That is so difficult to do, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like we're gonna be headed to game number 5. Very, very well played by both sides.
Yeah, it really came down to DRG's defense, really.
Right.
And he was able to just make the counterattack, and kind of because of the investment into those adept waves, that didn't really pay out. You know, this Classic was just behind from then on, and now DRG is going to go ahead. Maybe not completely clear things up, but he has done enough damage. I think game-ending damage. Or actually, you know what? As I say that, the supply is still pretty close.
Yeah, it looks like... Oh, okay. Classic does turn back. Not exactly going to commit to the counter attack. But yeah, like you said, I mean, DRG just pulled himself way too far ahead into the game. Getting his 4th base up. The worker counts are... Oh, wow. Okay, I was assuming that the worker counts were going to be very different, but the only advantage that DRG, you know, substantively has is that he has the tech advantage. He's getting his upgrades, and he's going into Hive Tech very soon. But yeah, I was about to say, you know, everybody take your, you know, screenshots, get out your camera, whatever you have to do, because that was probably the only time we're ever going to see DRG float above 1,000 minerals was during that engagement across the map.
Yeah, you know, at first glance, I thought it was. I think if DRG was able to take down that 3rd bit Nexus, I think it could have been game closing.
Right.
But he left it. I mean, he didn't left it, but he couldn't kill it in time.
Right.
You know, remember when you have to defend against the depths, the Glaive of Depths build, you gotta cut a lot of workers. And I forgot about that. And he didn't have a lot of workers to really work with at the end of there. So even though he killed the 17 or so probes there, the worker supply actually was surprisingly pretty even after all that. Right.
Yeah, honestly, I'm about to eat my words. Just watch. Classic is going to get the best disruptor hits of his life, and then he's going to close out this series right here, right now. But all jokes aside, yeah, it looks like there's a bit of a lull, you know. We see DRG setting up for engagements on the creep by taking down the rocks. And then, of course, we see Classic following up with upgrades, making sure that he can sort of keep up a good army supply. But yeah, this is going to come down to the next engagement. Like you said, if that 3rd had gone down, it might have been game. But here we go. These roaches are... Ooh! Okay, good pullback, as well as good biles. Both players are being very, very cautious with how they engage.
Yeah, it's pretty much anyone's game, so both players are very, very careful not to overstep their boundaries and just throw or give the game away. And Classic doing a nice job kind of limiting the creep spread here at the middle.
Oh. Okay. I was gonna say, if Classic went down... Oh, it looks like he's actually gonna commit... Oh! Excellent split in the... I think it was the 2nd out of the 3 Novas. The 3rd Nova did get a Ravager and a few Roaches, but overall, that was a very, very solid split by DRG. I was so scared for a second. I thought that was gonna go off, and... Oh, here we go! The yoink, the last-minute yoink. We also see some Blinding Clouds preventing a lot of this critical Protoss army from being able to engage. The Roaches are going to get us around, but is it good enough? These Roaches are falling very, very quickly, and the Stalkers are going to keep engaging. We even see a hallucinated Archon. Drones are being pulled. This is insane.
Oh my god, this is such a close battle, I gotta say. However, all the Immortals are gone. Only one Disruptor left over. And I think, yeah, DRG will be able to hold off. There's no reinforcement points. There's no like Warp Prism to reinforce closer. He needs to warp in back at home in order to send reinforcements. So I think because of that, Classic he had to back out at that point.
Right. What a crazy game. I was so sure that DRG had it in the bag, and then Classic comes out with this, pretty solid defense, and then he follows up with a lot of Blink Disruptor, which honestly is probably the best move he could be making because his opponent is following up with Lurkers, and obviously Lurkers are still somewhat vulnerable to Disruptors, so I'm not so sure if Lurkers are the best move, but I honestly I can't say because I am not a pro player, and I also would have also gotten Lurkers, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Lurkers are relatively strong units. If you can get them into this an optimal amount of numbers, it gets extremely difficult for the Protoss player to break it unless he has like enough time to switch into like mass air into carriers or something like that. But I don't think that's gonna happen as Classic does not have a Stargate. And, oh, nice move here! Actually, splitting a bunch of roaches, catches a Disruptor there in the natural. That's gonna pull
just barely on time, yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna pull a lot of Classic's army, and that gives an opening to this bottom base.
Oh, excellent positioning. Reading Classic like a book. Just putting in just enough roaches and ravagers to make Classic pull back, and then dealing the critical damage at the 4th base. 21 probes have already gone down. Most of these Lurkers are still alive. Roaches, Lings are flooding in. Vipers are obviously still alive. Good feedbacks, but not good enough. It looks like... Well, okay. You know what? I'm going to stop saying things like that because it is still anybody's game. Oh, just kidding. DRG ties the series up.
Alright, 5th game. And every player's mindset coming to a decisive game, whether it's a 5th game in the best of 5 or a 7th game in the best of 7, is... do you YOLO it or do you play it out standard?
That's right. It's interesting. It reminds me a lot of how Raynor gambles against Serral. Because, Raynor is a great player. Serral is also a great player. But when they play against each other, they treat the game differently, if that makes sense. Raynor takes a lot more risks, and they tend to pay off, too. Against Serral, and I don't know. It just seems like Classic is playing with a lot of sort of edgy styles here in this series, and I really like it. Right, I keep going back to that Tempest opener, just absolutely wild, and then manipulating DRG into overmaking Corruptors, that kind of thing. Like, wow, very well played.
Yeah, and I think that's why like players that have a little bit of risky play in their arsenal tends to do really well in the long run. Like someone like maybe like Maru, who is really great in terms of just a straight up standard game, but can very well mix in some really like crazy builds or crazy openings at any given time, and that has kind of really done well for him. And then as you mentioned, Raynor, also one of those players that has a beautiful macro long game, but also can mix in those surprises here and there, those riskiness here and there, and it has paid off against for him, particularly against someone like Serral, who is very kind of standard, doesn't take a lot of risk.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of risks, I would not call a Twilight opener risky per se, but it's definitely more aggressive, right? So it looks like we're gonna see a rowboat coming down here as well. And what is the tech of choice? We are gonna see Glaive Adept. So this is gonna be a faster Glaive Adept opening, sort of kind of like last game, but skipping over the Stargate tech. So we're gonna have to wait and see just how much damage Classic is able to get in with his Adepts. Now, if DRG responds anything like last game, I don't think it's going to be too much damage, right? We saw those excellent wall-offs with the Evo Chambers at the natural, preventing Classic from gaining access to 2/3 of DRG's economy. But who knows? Maybe you get one good shade in, and one good shade is really all you need.
Yeah, once that first shade hits with the Zerg like unprepared, like it gets really difficult to stabilize. And so if you can kind of get that first step on DRG, then maybe this Glaive Adept opening should pay out. Alright, Glaive 75 or 80% done, so this timing should hit relatively soon. Now, DRG still has not scouted a third base yet. He should be wary that something is coming up.
Yeah, we also don't see a Roach... Okay, the Roach Warren just started. I don't think it's going to finish in time. Maybe it does? I'm not sure. I think that these Roaches, they're going to know what's up. This number of Adepts does not lie. I like this move a lot. Sending in the Lings into the main, you know, forcing Classic to really try to make a move.
Oh, this is going absolutely horrible for Classic. Remember, he does not have a third base, so he can't afford to be losing probes like these, or like this. He really needs to make this Glaive Adept, you know, push out really work, do a significant amount of damage, and I just don't quite see it as the Roaches are popping out.
Yeah, what an interesting move, you know, seeing that, hey, these Adepts are not plugging the wall, sending in a bunch of Lings, and killing 9 drones. Now, of course, this little group of Adepts did complete the first shade. Looks like they are going to try to complete, complete the second in the main. They are going to get some drone kills, but I think that, I'm not sure if this was worth it.
Yeah, again, no third base, so he really needs to do more damage than this. Yeah, he's ahead in the workers, but if his Nexus is building, the Zerg player can just build up those drones in the meantime, so he needs to do more. And however, I just don't quite see it as the Adept numbers are dwindling. Right now, there's only 4 Adepts on the field.
Yeah, I like that Spine Crawler at the third, you know, just making sure he has some additional presence over there. Oh, are these Queens? Okay, they are not going to get the War Prism. Good micro by Classic, keeping that War Prism alive. But yeah, now it looks like the Lings, DRG is comfortable enough to send the Lings across the map. And I think they might actually force a cancel on the third Nexus. These Adepts are a little bit out of position, so this is not looking too good for our Protoss.
Oh, DRG hesitated a little bit, but can't. Oh man, this is gonna be close, I think.
Oh, no cancel! Oh my gosh, Classic taking that risk and thinking to himself, yeah, I can get these Lings. He was not able to kill all of them in time. That is huge.
Yeah, that might be the cherry on top for DRG.
Right,
I mean,
right. Yeah, that hurts. Like, as a Zerg player, I understand how much that hurts the Protoss player. You know, that is not a good feeling. Wow.
Yeah, for a second, you know, because of the hesitation, the slight hesitation from DRG, I was like, wait, is he gonna actually, you know, cause kind of throw away his advantage, you know?
Oh no! And also the War Prism going down. Classic desperately trying to get whatever damage he can with these remaining 3 Adepts. Now he is gonna find a few more drones, but was that worth the War Prism? I say no.
Yeah, definitely no. I mean, that War Prism was his only source of harassment, and so now DRG is just free to just move across the map. He doesn't have to worry about any counterattacks.
Yeah, now there is one saving grace for Classic, is that he did begin banking up Immortals at the beginning of the fight. That is very smart, you know? You know that your opponent needs to respond with Roaches, so what do you do to counter that? You just make Immortals. That is a very smart move, but oh, what is that? Okay, I think Classic is a little bit on edge. He just force fielded his own Adept for no reason just now. We do see a lot of cannons and shield batteries going up. I do like this a lot. But yeah, now it is on Classic to defend against DRG. Oh wow, what is this? 2 more Adepts coming in, actually getting a few more kills as well. This is becoming a thorn in DRG's side, so both players are, you know, dealing substantive amounts of damage.
Yeah, Classic just trying to distract DRG as long as possible, because Classic right now is desperate in need of time. time to build up his economy, time to build up his army there, and time to research those upgrades. Those are crucial upgrades that will allow him to at least somewhat, maybe possibly turn this game around, dig himself out of this hole that he has dug himself in. But oh my goodness, this Depth's getting surrounded.
Now, I don't even know if this was intentional, right? Like, there's no way that Classic wanted to trade them out. I think Classic just wanted to, you know, steal a few Ling kills, but didn't expect the Lings to just commit to this round.
Yeah, or maybe he just kind of didn't anticipate so many Lings there that would be enough to kill all his Adepts. So, but you know, Classic can't afford to be losing those army units. Because he is trying to turn this. He's the one that's the underdog right now. He's the one that needs to turn this game. Looks like he is ready to possibly just scare DRG a little bit. Because I mean, that's a lot of mortals, but not a lot besides that.
Oh, I don't think the Shaded Phoenix saw the star. Not the starport. Sorry, the Spire. That could be huge. Wait, let me check. Did Classic see the... Okay, Classic saw something building. So he could guess that it's a Spire. We see 12 Mutalisks on the way, along with +1 air upgrades for the Zerg. So DRG is very committed to the Mutalisk tech. Now it is, again, it's back onto Classic to keep defending. These Lings are going to come in here, get off a good scout, see what's up at the 3rd. And Classic also following up with the 4th. I like that a lot. You know, there's been sort of a lull in the action as both players are trying to macro up. But yeah, these Mutas, are they going to get as much or even more damage as they did in game number 1?
Yeah, that game number 1, he was able to kill like around 20 or so probes. Now this time around, Classic did scout it, so he put up 2 Stargate and kind of pumping out mass Phoenixes. Gonna have to use these stalkers to kind of buy him some time for himself some time to build up that Phoenix count. But in the meantime, DRG is looking to kind of do a little bit of a double prong attack with these roaches, and then also with these Mutalisks, or maybe he's just gonna group them all together.
I like that decision a lot, honestly, right? Because the Mutas, by themselves, they can do a lot, but with the army, they're just gonna walk right in to Classic's natural. Obviously, the Immortals and Sentries are caught out of position. The Roaches, Ravagers, and Mutas are going to get all the way up into the main base. These Mutas are going to target fire whatever they can. Roaches are doing their best against the Immortals. Natural Nexus does fall, but these Immortals are really doing good work cleaning up these Roaches and Ravagers.
Yeah, Classic does end up cleaning up the rest of the ground forces, but at what cost? I feel like Classic also misplayed that defense. He had his ground army on move command instead of attack command, and he wasn't able to. He had the opportunity to force field around his Nexus to prevent the Lings from getting on top of them, getting on top of the Nexus. So he could have saved his Nexus if he wanted to, but with the move command and then with no force fields, Classic find himself kind of dead in the water. His natural, I mean, as I say that, his natural was almost pretty much mined out, but he's losing his 4th base right now as well.
Yeah, the writing is most definitely on the wall here. This is DRG's game to throw, as he's committing even more to the Mutas, right? He saw, hey, you don't have enough Stalkers and you don't have enough Phoenixes to really contest this. So I'm just going to keep on, making more Mutas. Now, there is that Archon coming in to save the day. Obviously, Archons deal splash damage. And against something as weak as Mutas, when you clump them up, an Archon just needs a few hits to decimate all of them.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I'm sure Classic wish he was in the Yu-Gi-Oh game and wanted that multiply card so he can multiply all his Archons, because he needs a bunch of Archons to deal with what DRG has. Yeah, he needs to make that Karibo with that multiply card work here, but looks like it's not going to happen, as there are just so much red, so much swarm. These Mutalisks are just going to absolutely annoy and ravage Classic space, and I expect
I'm pretty sure
pretty soon.
That's right. I'm pretty sure the Lings by themselves could, take care of this entire army if they wanted to. They're going to target down the 3rd Nexus, and GG is called. DRG takes game number 5.